Hello everyone, my name is Agontistes, I'm a theory crafter, I used to speedrun in Monster Hunter Rise, and I'm here to tell you what to expect from Monster Hunter Wilds after playing the beta 2 for close to 30 hours. The game has changed quite a fair bit since Word, but I'm happy with the product we're gonna get, all things considered. Sure, the beta wasn't empty of problems, but I'll get to that soon. If I think there's some decent problems, I also think they're gonna be fixed. If you just want to know if I think the game is worth the pre-order for a serious fan, the answer is absolutely yes. Wilds just takes from the Word's formula and improves it on quality of life and weapon feeling, taking some tips from his brother Rise on how to make weapons feel good. Speedrunning is gonna be especially improved, I think, thanks to the many quality of life improvements we got, hoping to be able to speedrun without spawn location mods again. I'll be dividing this video in major points I want to talk about, and I want to start with what's most important to me. You probably already figured it out, it's quality of life. Sharpening rework is something that I feel is absolutely massive. Every sharpening animation now gives you sharpness back, so interrupting the animation not only is not as bad as before, but it's sometimes you actively want to do now. Another big change is the supply chests now being on a sacred, which is your mount, having even less downtime between hunts and actually allowing you to refill during investigations even, just in standard exploration. There's also a pretty high density of forward camps, which makes reaching the monsters a little bit less frustrating when you have to reset the same hunt a bunch of times, either because you have to farm materials or because you're just speedrunning. The new and reworked Slinger feels really good as it's now a more complete tool, I think. It allows you to collect stuff, to heal yourself, to activate environment hazards, swing from up high to deal mount damage. It's just great, and I think it's much less impractical compared to Word. The secret is a bit clunky on the other hand sometimes. I did prefer the Palamute as a mount, but I don't think it's a major deal, and there's some big improvements like having your mount automatically follow the monster trucks, while you can collect things with your Slinger, set up your inventory, and that's really nice. Collecting in general is really fast, and overall just the game feels better to play, as it throws you in the action with way less dilly-dallying. Before diving into the next point, I want to take a second to talk about wounds, which is a system that it's not entirely new, it's mostly just a reworked system for Word, and now dealing effective damage against a specific part of the monster, or dealing damage while mounted on the monster, can create wounds. Hitting a monster on a wound does a % bonus damage. I think it's 10% at base, but I'm pretty sure there's gonna be skills that let you deal more damage on wounds or have critical damage chance increased while hitting wounds. Destroying a wound can net you material rewards, and you can destroy them in two ways. You either deal a lot of damage on a part, or you do a focus mode R1 or RB attack. Focus mode lets you aim at specific parts, and even though I'm not finding myself using it particularly often outside of destroying wounds, I do recognize the potential. Many weapons get major benefits from destroying a wound with a focus mode attack. At the very minimum, you're gonna deal a ton of damage and you're gonna interrupt the monster. In some cases you can even topple them, and in some other cases, for specific weapons, you can get stuff like full extracts for the insect glaive or a Savage Axe mode for the charge blade. That leads me straight into point number 2, which is weapon changes. I pretty much play all weapons to a certain degree, but my knowledge with Insect Glaive and Sword and Shield is far superior to what I know about other weapons. Even though that's the case, I can safely say that most, if not all, weapons got better or significantly better in some shape or form. Most of them got new defensive options, which in a game such as Monster Hunter, where recognizing patterns is half the fun, it's just really entertaining. They also got a lot of good offensive options, and I don't really want to get too specific with weapons I don't feel as comfortable talking about, so I'll just talk about my main. Insect Glaive just feels great. I fell in love with the weapon in Rise mostly, and I do prefer the grounded playstyle compared to the aerial one, so that's kinda personal, because I think the aerial playstyle is not as flashy as it was in Rise, but it's more useful, and it's definitely not as flashy as it was in Word, but it's far more useful. The new wound system just allows you to get much more mileage from mounted damage, and using just your aerial to close gaps without lowering your DPS too much and making insect marks is just another really useful thing. As I was saying, the ground combo is what I like the most about this weapon, and the new and improved directional slashes give the weapon more juggle room, which I truly appreciate, since it just felt sometimes you were just a sitting duck if you missed your initial combo, which is something that is a lot easier to perform now. Sword and Shield is probably the hardest iteration it has ever had. Now the perfect guard is just as good as backstep in most situations, thanks to the guard counter as well. The option of having a guard playstyle and a backstep playstyle, both influenced by skills eventually, is an exciting one, and the weapon just feels extremely good, with the directional slashes adding so much more mobility and uptime. I personally heavily disliked Sword and Shield on Rise, so I'm happy to see it's something different here. I was getting tired of just bashing monsters in the head with the shield and just using Metsu Shoryugeki every 10 seconds. So I'm really excited to dive into something different nowadays. I also played a lot of Switch Shocks, and it kinda grew on me, even though I still prefer Rise Switch Shocks. I don't think I can play bow without Constitution, and I'm not particularly good at other weapons. I could give you a rundown, but I'm sure there's people who are more prepared than me on those particular weapons, so I'm sure you can find some content about those as well if you're interested in just knowing more about weapons, which is not the main point of my video anyway. I want to talk about the monsters now, and most of my time in the beta has been spent hunting Radau and Arkveld, as I feel those two were by a long shot the most interesting hunts. Especially the Radau, honestly. Arkveld as the franchise monster is really cool, but I don't think its high-ranked version is just as good as Nergigante or Magnamalo. I also think it was a little bit easier than both, and the 20 minutes timer was just the only real limit of the quest because of low-end equipment and virtually no skills. I don't want to say I was disappointed, because the Arkveld was just a really fun hunt, one of the best in a while actually, but it just didn't reach the heights of the two that came before him in my book. Radau, on the other hand, is an amazing hunt. I think it's gonna be an instant classic. I think it rivals the Rathalos in what it does. It's extremely recognizable, the animations are amazing, especially the horns lining up to fire electric beams. The sound effects are extremely pleasant too, and just aside from personal taste, I just think all the hunts are very clean. There's very little jank, even though fighting on a desert dune just sucks real bad. Most of the times whenever something happened, it was fair, and it was a mistake on my part. They just felt right, and that's what a hunt should be in this game. There's only one issue I have right now, and I want to say this is the biggest issue I have with the game. I'm not sure if it's because of the equipment being bad, or if it's because the timer is just somewhat weird in the beta, but I think the monsters just move too much from one area to the other. It's not like they should stand still and get beaten, but I had instances of monsters just getting like 20 seconds of combat, even less sometimes, after I chase them down and then just they move again. Running around chasing monsters is just not exactly fun to do. I hope their timer just was inflated to allow us to see more of the world, and it's just not gonna be the same once the full game releases, because as it stands right now, it's sometimes a little bit frustrating. And talking about the world, the next point, it's graphics. The game looks absolutely stunning. Visual effects especially are incredibly pleasant. The areas look beautiful, characters, weapons, and equipment are nothing short of gorgeous. The character creator is especially good, which is a standard that I've learned to respect a lot nowadays, improving in a major way from its predecessors, which were still quite decent honestly. The elephant in the room is, of course, optimization, and I won't sugarcoat this, the game is very poorly optimized as of Beta 2. I have a particularly powerful machine and I still had some FPS drops that just prompted me to lower my settings to ensure the game was just running smooth in all situations. You'll be able to run it even with lower graphics settings, but it just doesn't look great. FPS just stands a bit too much, and from some of my friends' experiences with worse machines, the game just doesn't run great. It does run better on consoles, so I want to say something about this that's akin to something I said once Word released. And that game had the exact same issue when it was released. It was fixed pretty early in the patching process. So I just trust Capcom to fix these issues, if not before the release of the game, then soon after. Because right now, crowded areas are just a little bit of a mess, and it does really remind me of word problems. Now, another important thing is of course online play, and it's pretty smooth overall. Even though I always found Monster Hunter Online to be somewhat clunky, this game didn't change my mind too much. It's better than what came in the past. The transition between single and multiplayer is smoother, and the quality of servers is just really high, with very low if non-existent ping issues. The servers are just not incredibly stable. I had a couple of crashes and disconnections, but this is a stress test. It will be naive not to expect that there's some limits we have to cross for them to improve what they have, and I just trust they will. Last but not least, let's talk about UI, which got a lot more busy, and I personally don't really enjoy it. It does look great, but that's not all a UI should be. There's one thing I'm particularly not fond of. I kinda really hate it actually. You get way too many notifications, and you can very easily miss stuff in the notification bar because of this. Wildlife changes and online notifications really shouldn't be in the same small box, especially if there's no sounds and they're tied to the same button as the map opening. It just isn't great. Having no customizability hurts too. It is a minor gripe, it's not something that impact my gameplay in any shape or form, but it's just something that I thought I should put out there. This is pretty much all I wanted to say about the game. Hope you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe if you did, and make sure to let me know what do you think about the beta or what do you want to know about it in the comment section. I'm planning on releasing more content about Monster Hunter once it fully releases, so stay tuned on this channel if you're interested in that. I can't wait personally to dive deeper into this game, and it's probably gonna be quite a lot of speedruns as well, hopefully at least. So I'll see you for those, I'll see you next time. Have a wonderful rest of your day.